Mickey Dickey here, and been listening to Dave recently, and I'm not sure that he's giving the correct advice on some of this stuff. And I just want to kind of focus on this. And I'm not going to pull up this video. If you have a chance, go ahead and read it or listen to it. But a couple of issues that he got here. He mentions three things as far as investing and whether you should buy this year as a long-term play. That's the only thing in this video I think I really do agree with him on, is that he's saying it is for long term. And to me, that's the only question you really need to ask in this is, are you buying for the long term? Because if you're buying for short term, you shouldn't be buying a house anyway. When you take into consideration the cost to buy a home, when you buy a house, especially if you're using MLS, now, again, the guys that are investing on the other side of this, that are not using realtors and other things, this isn't for you. This is for the people that Dave's talking about. This is the average buyer out there who's going to use a realtor and going to go buy their home and whatever. When you're buying a house, you're paying the realtor usually 7%. So on a $200,000 house, you're paying $14,000 to buy this home. Now, I know technically the seller's paying the realtor the commission, but all he's doing is jacking up the price so that you can buy the home, or so you can pay the realtor. They're willing to take less than that, which is why a lot of real estate investors end up buying homes cheaper, because they don't use real estate agents. But anyway, so keep that in mind. And then when you resell the house, then you got to pay the 7% commission on top of it. So even if you buy the home today for $200,000 and a year from now you're going to resell it for the same price, you're going to basically be paying $28,000 to buy the home. So just keep that in mind in the scheme of things. The other thing he states is that, rents go up every year. Again, that's not true. Over a long period of time, they probably will. But what the concern right now is that there's a real estate bubble out there. And whether you should be buying now is like buying a stock at its peak. Can it go up? Potentially. The odds of it going down, given the fact that we were up 20% for 2 years in a row, probably not a great option there. Now, again, I'm not saying to buy or sell, but what I'm trying to say is the fact that the odds that rents are going to continue to go up if we end up going into a recession, and if we go into a real estate bubble, not great for the next year or two. Again, we're talking short-term versus long-term. On a short-term basis, again, he's saying that if you lock in your payment now because you buy the home, your payments won't go up. Again, not necessarily true. The part of it that you lock in, if you get the 15-year fix, which is what he suggests, and I suggest, okay, you still have taxes, you still have insurance, you still have HOA. Those things can continue to go up. And again, going into recession times typically do go up, because governments have a tendency to raise rates during those times because they have trouble too, because they're in a recession like everybody else. Then the other thing he says, that homes always go up in value. Again, over a long period of time, true. But if you're not planning to stay in this house for a long period of time, again, this may not be the right time, because we might be coming up on a bubble. When we look at the real estate numbers and we're going year over year, we're still down from the peak in June. Now we're down not even 10% from June. We're down maybe 2, 3, 4%. So again, it's not a big number, and we don't know. And that's typical. When we start comparing June to December, June's the biggest month of the year to buy homes. So the median sale price is going to be higher than June than it is in December, typically on an average year. So the question is, between now and June, does the median sale price continue to tick up like it normally does? And do we get to June and be the same? If not, we might be down year over year, which means you might be buying when the market is dropping. The other one, it says it's a great wealth building tool. Okay, this one, everyone says this, and I have the biggest problem with this on the planet. The only scarce resource that you're buying when you buy a home, if it's a home and not a condo, is the land. Because land is scarce and we're not making any more of it until we decide to leave Earth and go to Mars or whatever. But again, here on planet Earth, there's only so much land, and the land will continue to increase in value, typically. And even that's not guaranteed. Just ask Kmart and Sears, because they bought a bunch of land and had properties in areas that ended up continuing to go down in value. So they lost millions of dollars because they thought that land would always go up. Doesn't. And does anybody remember 08 by chance? Because in 08, we had a 20, 30, in some places 40% drop in the values of homes. Homes don't always go up in value, and they are not a wealth building tool Again, this is not for real estate investors. This isn't for the person that's flipping. This is different. Because if homes always went up in value, then the flippers and the real estate people out there wouldn't have the ability to buy these homes. A house is a depreciating asset, just like a car. If you don't maintain it, if you don't put in new windows, if you don't put in new HVAC systems, if you don't update the plumbing, if you don't put on a new roof, if you don't paint it, if you don't do the things that keep it updated, it does not increase in value all the time. It can go down significantly in value. So anyone that tells you that is not being truthful to you in the total sense. Is it possible that you just get into a market and everything just goes up? Sure. But I can guarantee you that not everything goes up. So I don't look at it that way. What you have to focus on in 2023, and this doesn't even have to do with 2023. You don't look at the interest rate. You look at the house, and he's right, but in general, buying a home is the right answer here. If you're going to be buying and you're moving to someplace and your plan is to stay there for a long period of time, it doesn't really matter, because he's right. If you buy a home and you maintain the home and you keep it up, over time, it will continue to increase in value, or should, unless you're just in a really bad market, which again happens and sometimes beyond your control. But when you look at it from what he's saying in 2023, it is possible you could be buying at the high end of the market, and keep that in mind. It's just like buying a stock at the top end of its market. Again, that doesn't make it a bad buy. It just means that you might buy it today and it might go down tomorrow. And that's okay, because you shouldn't be buying a home for wealth value. Again, if this is your main home, you're trying to do it so that you can pay the house off and not have rent payments for the rest of your life. That's the goal. It's not building wealth. It's so that you don't have to spend the money and it go down the toilet every day. Now, this is one part I want to make sure I put in here, because to me, it irks me. Everyone will continue to tell you that paying rent, all the money goes away and it doesn't help you. And if you buy the home, you're in better shape. Again, long term, that is correct. If you're moving to a town and you know you're only going to be there a year or two, it might just behoove you not to be buying. It might be best for you to rent. You're going to have to run the numbers, because again, when you buy a home for $200,000 in this market right now, the odds that 2 years from now that house is going to be worth more than it is today may not be great. And you're going to have to pay the realtor fee on the other end. So you could even sell for the same price you paid for it, but come out bad on the other end. So again, keep this in mind. It really needs to be long-term. It needs to be a scenario. Again, if you should be doing the 15-year deal. And if you are, you're paying the principal down. But if you're doing a 30-year, now think about that one. If you're buying a $300,000 house and you got a 30-year mortgage, the first couple of years, you're just paying interest anyway. Not a whole lot different than rent. So if it's not just a guarantee that you're going to be here longer than a couple of years, you really need to focus on whether you should be buying a home at all, whether it's 2023 or not. Again, consult your financial advisor, talk to your CPA, figure out what's best for your situation and your family. Are you in the right school district? You're going to be here long term, all that kind of good stuff. Focus on the long term, not just on the house, but what's best for you and your family. Dickie out.